As much as I love fellow deer for being beautiful and cute, we did have an issue which needed to get resolved. Let me start from the beginning. My wife and me like to eat corn. However, not the sweet corn that is being sold in local supermarkets, but the corn we knew from our childhood. The one that tastes like bread. Many years we have been looking where to buy it, but it was nowhere to be found around here. Now that we finally got out of the city and became landlords, we figured that we can grow it ourselves. What we didn't consider at that time was that it was not just us who loves corn. Remember those beautiful and cute fellow deer friends I mentioned earlier? Well, they love corn too. And not just ripe corn cobs, oh no. They will start feasting as early as possible. As soon as the first corn sprouts saw the sunlight, the deer were all over the field. They started at the very far end, further away from the house, and the growth of the corn sprouts could not keep up with their hunger. After just a few days, an area of almost 700 square meters, or roughly 7,500 square feet, looked as if nothing has ever been planted there. Clearly, we had to do something. Otherwise, we were risking to lose the entire harvest. Our first thought was to fence in the entire field, but given its size of about 4,500 square meters, which is somewhat over an acre, it was clear that we won't manage to do that in time. We needed a quick but good enough solution which would protect the corn while we were working on the fence. It was time to get creative. The deer would usually not come here during the day, so the most critical time was evening, night, and early morning. My emergency solution was to go on patrol. I'd arm myself with a strong flashlight and I would run out every hour or so. Being a metalhead, I would start growling like Chris Barnes as soon as I saw a deer in the corn, while chasing after the invader. Unfortunately, I didn't have a good action camera, nor one with night vision at the time, so the quality of those videos is really bad. It must have been an absurd view. Some crazy dude running around the cornfield and growling in the night. Or is that what metalheads usually do anyway? This seemed to work for a while, but after 2-3 weeks the deer realized that I'm not actually doing anything besides growling. So they stopped running further away, but instead they would simply keep their distance and stop as soon as I came to a halt. This was getting ridiculous. I chase them off the field, they stop running as soon as I do. And then we're just standing there and staring at each other. Or rather, they are waiting for me to leave so that they can get back onto the field. Once a doe even barked at me when I was trying to convince her to get the hell out of our cornfield. I tried chasing them deeper into the woods, but this was simply not sustainable, and as much as I enjoyed a jogging workout till 4 AM, I was showing up tired for work and I clearly needed a change of strategy. If you remember the first episode, we found out that our friends consider every new object, like a bucket with water or really anything new, as a deer murder weapon and will approach it very cautiously, or even run away from it for the first few days until they get used to it. This meant that we had to fortify the field perimeter with scary stuff. And of course we had to start working on the fence. The quick and dirty solution was a provisoric fence using sticks and metal poles from a trampoline, and whatever stuff we could find. It was not meant to withstand any physical force, but only to scare them from crossing. We tied tin cans to ropes and then pulled the ropes between the poles. Knowing that deer will get used to everything within roughly 2 weeks, we also put up scarecrows which needed to be regularly moved around. I was also told that deer have a very sensitive sense of smell, so we started to hang out dirty socks along the fence. I also kept up growl patrolling, but with a lesser frequency. As usual, the change of scenery worked for a few weeks, but once again it was time to come up with something new as the deer got used to the current setup and didn't even mind the stinky socks. So the next thing I came up with was the following. I took 2 phones, loaded them with death metal music, and set them to play a random song every 15 minutes. Each night I would hang out the phones on the provisoric fence in places where I suspected the next breach attempt. And I would sometimes put the trail camera there to see if my tactics had any effect. It seemed to work in the beginning, but it didn't take long and the deer started to adapt once again. Here, the herd is reacting to a song by Lemmy from Motorhead. It's the King of Kings Triple H theme, which I prefer to mute here for legal reasons. However, you see that the effect is not lasting. When the music stops, my furry friends get right back at it and reach for the corn again. At some point I witnessed how a doe was chewing corn right at a pole that had the phone hanging on it, listening to Cannibal Corpse. I can't tell if the deer became death metal fans, but they clearly didn't mind the blast beats and the growls any longer. A short attempt to use various alarm sounds instead of music didn't show the desired effect. I guess after getting used to death metal, deer could only laugh about ringtones and alarms. It had to be something completely different. Let's try sounds of barking dogs. So, for the next 2 weeks, virtual dogs kept barking through the night till early morning. I guess it won't come as a surprise if I tell you that deer got used to the barking dogs as well. Of course, we kept working on a real fence, but our progress was simply too slow. Eventually I had to get back to growl patrolling, and I did have some enjoyable moments there. It was full moon when I went out to check on the field. The corn was almost 2 meters high and I was quietly moving through it when I heard some noise. I was not alone there. I kept moving towards the noise, and as I got closer I realized that I'm witnessing a feast. There was a couple of does and a fawn selflessly chewing our corn. They were making a lot of noise, so I could get pretty close as they were mistaking the noises I made for noises of one of their own. I could not only hear the chewing, but even the bubbling in their stomachs. They were enjoying their meal as much as I would usually enjoy an all-you-can-eat buffet at a good Asian restaurant. It was quite a romantic scenery. I could see them chewing away in the moonlight, and I almost wish I could join them and become part of the herd. At some point they realized that there was an uninvited guest among them, and I didn't even have to do my death metal growl. They lost their nerves and rushed away. Of course, I was in a far less romantic mood when I inspected the damage next morning. The corn was getting less and less. The view of the devastation caused by my beautiful white-dotted friends was so depressing that I didn't even film it, meaning that I cannot show you the shocking visuals. Luckily, the cobs started to ripen. We managed not only to eat enough, but to also fill a big freezer and put some of the harvest aside to dry. However, if you look at the size of the field and the percentage of what we collected for ourselves, deer got the most of it. In the end, we weren't disappointed. Even though we planted such a big field, it was not a commercial project, and we managed to collect an amount of corn which was more than enough for us. Of course, the local farmers had a harder time understanding our position. They were suggesting to call hunters and get some of the deer shot, but we just couldn't. After all, the deer have been here much longer, so we are the guests, and it's our problem that we decided to grow some corn, not theirs. If we failed to put up a proper fence in time, that's on us, so why should the deer get punished? We would probably see it differently if our business and income depended on farming, but this is not the case, so we were okay sharing with the deer. We also noticed that once the cobs got ripe, the deer would prefer those brushes at the top of the cob. So when we were peeling the cobs, we didn't throw away those brushes, but left them in the yard, to the very delight of our deer neighbors. In the very end, we removed all scary objects and allowed the deer to get all that was left. So, overall, it was an enjoyable and nourishing summer for everyone, and most importantly, the deer and us remained friends.